Okay, so this is a slightly different video. It's not really a diorama project, but more of a practice piece. I think after the last diorama I did, which was the ocean cliff scene with lots of white water and waves crashing into the land, I wanted to carry on doing waves, but I wanted to try something a little bit different, to do some real ocean swell, and also because I wanted to see if I could simplify the techniques I'd used in the last video and see if I could make it work for waves that are further out to sea. Anyway, so I used the hot wire foam factory sculpting tool to carve the extruded polystyrene, and then I used a knife to further slice and chip and pick bits out until I was generally happy with the shape of the mini ocean. I wanted to make sure it was very realistic. At this stage it looks quite rough, but what I'm going to do is coat it with Mod Podge matte diluted down with water, and then I'm going to use that to apply the paper over the top. In the last video I used watercolour paper, but it worked out, it was quite tough to get it to conform to the shape of the wave. So I'm using toilet paper here. There's no polite way of saying it really. It is toilet paper, and it is much easier to do this. You can apply several layers and it lends it a really nice realistic look, because you get all these little natural kind of bobbles in it as well. So you get a really good wave texture, because waves aren't smooth when you look at them, they're all bobbly. And then I mixed up a few colours of acrylic paint. So there's an ultramarine and a forest green and a kind of a grey, a bluey, blacky grey colour. I can't remember what it's called. Diluted it a bit. This was the base coat. And there's one thing I can't stand is when you see these dioramas and or the waves, the sea is all one colour. It's just like one block colour of, you know, this kind of colour. I'm painting it here, so I really didn't want to have the my little mini ocean follow that kind of trend. So I went with some green highlights over the top of that. I was kind of making up the colours as I went along, really, just by feel. So I just added a bit more green to the mix, and you know, wiped it in there with a finger to soften the edges, and then I went over the highlighted it further with I think this is called Lagoon or something. Anyway, and then white water in this model is just going to be paint. So I highlighted all of the ridges of the waves with white acrylic, and I stippled it on with the end of the brush as well, so the wooden end of the brush, to give it that kind of spider's web look to the froth and the foam, which you can't get with the bristles unless they're very stiff and old. So I carried on doing that, really went to town on it really. And then I used Liquitex glazing medium tinted with a little touch of blue. Now this looks quite dramatic as it goes on, but it actually dries quite clear. And this is why I went to town on the white water, because this softens it right back and pulls it right back to a kind of a bluey, greeny colour. Here I'm using a bit more of that lagoon colour mixed with glazing medium, and I'm mixing that over all of the blue glazing medium as well, mixing it all together so you get little patches of blue, little patches of green, and patches where they're all mixed together, and it softens the white water right down. And when it dries it looks ultra realistic, because it gives that multicoloured kind of ocean look. When you look at, you know, waves up close, they're not just one colour, they're all the colours you think the ocean is, they're all in there. And I go over the tops of the waves again with the white water, and I'm using a toothpick there, or a cocktail stick actually, and applying it, because again you can't get the effect with just the brushes, I mean with just the bristles. And I soften that a little bit with a bit of a grey-green dry brush of acrylic. and that just kind of draws everything together. And then I go over with untinted glazing medium over the whole thing, which gives it that wet kind of look, because oceans are wet after all. So there's the finished piece. I was very happy with it in the end. I think it looks very realistic. That's the effect the glazing medium tints and the paint achieves, that multicoloured look. I think it looks magical. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks very much for watching. See you next time. Cheers.